Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Erica L. Ayala. And Erica, I cannot believe this, but March Madness has come and gone, and UCLA comes out with that trophy, okay? And Erica's looking like this because she's been calling this all year, and we will get into that for sure. But let's just start off with the whole vibe of this championship. I know it was, definitely the score was the score, and we'll talk about how that score got there. But what was your overall feeling of being here tonight?
I am happy to say that given the last time we were live, the vibes were completely different. I'm really grateful to the greater women's basketball community for coming together. That was an unfortunate way to end a season for an undefeated UConn team, not just because they lost, but because there was a lot of, a lot of people talking about their coach and not enough about the players. And I think that really flipped, especially when you have a UCLA team whose motto, as you know, I always love to say, is sometimes you, sometimes me, but always us. And so right now, I'm really feeling grateful to be here and that was the ending we got and not what transpired post-game the other night.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that too. It was unfortunate. It was unfortunate on every level. And if you haven't heard us talk about what happened, go back and look at the last live pod that we had, because we definitely had our opinions and words on it. We still do. However, tonight it's all about, these two teams that went out there to play in this championship and UCLA coming out the victor. I think about this weekend and what was my favorite part. And I want you to kind of think about that too. But I really just think being here representing CBS Sports and just being able to cover women's basketball.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I think back to when I played. Never was I close to a championship like this. Never were we even in the tournament. However, there was time when I knew that I would be doing this one day, and I'm sitting here doing it. So I'm going to be selfish and say that was my favorite part.
Hey, I love that. I think, if I may add to your highlights, I think you have also been doing a wonderful job engaging with the fans, engaging with other media, of course me, but you know me.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've been able to work with Tarika, we've been able to be around other people, and I don't know if y'all need to make sure you keep eyes on We Need to Talk social media, because you had a fantastic interaction with Nneka Ogwumike, and that was really just delightful to see y'all go back and forth. So I think that was great. As far as me, I think I'll stick. I almost missed this moment because we were live on CBS Sports and wrapping up. But we've talked about UCLA and joy and how that was a focus for this team because Corey Close, the head coach, felt that she was too hard on her team.
Yeah.
You almost never hear that. Sometimes coaches will be like, I wasn't hard enough, right?
Right.
That's kind of what we come to expect as athletes, is that it's toughness, it's hard, tough love. But, whether it was Brenda Freeze, yes, getting very close and very loud with a player, but saying exactly what she needed, and because her player had said that. And then Corey Close and her team, specifically, who was it? We saw Lauren Betts up there, and I think it was Gabriela Jaquez, and they were doing the dance again.
Yes.
And I loved that this is a team that they learned that dance from their dance team. They had been doing it throughout the season, and then they literally got to dance all the way here to Phoenix and were the last team standing. That was a beautiful moment, and it wasn't about flexing on anyone else. It was just joy. It was joy for that team, what they've been through, and the sisterhood. So I really liked that moment.
Well, and you talked about their dance that they've been doing, for the latter part of the season, that they actually learned from the UCLA dance team. But Lauren Betts was actually on our broadcast show with Lisa Leslie, and she told her that they were going to be dancing all March long, March and April, and she was not wrong.
Was not.
Right there on that stage with that trophy.
That is that the AT&T guarantee? Might need to be.
Yeah. She guaranteed it. That's for sure.
She sure did.
Well, let's go into a little bit of this game. We've been having a great time, but unfortunately, for South Carolina, they didn't have the greatest of times tonight, losing out in this championship, and obviously in the way that they did as well.
Right.
What do you think was the biggest difference maker for UCLA to win in the way that they did?
Well, if we're talking stats, we have to talk about rebounds, particularly offensive rebounds. There were a lot more offensive rebounds for UCLA. And that was one of the things Tarika and I had talked about it. But we knew that rebounding was going to be where this game was won or lost. And UCLA took command there. But it wasn't just Lauren Betts. It was a full team effort. We saw them being able to stop South Carolina from getting second chance opportunities, but also they had, I think we were going into the third quarter, Alicia, and they already had 20 points off of second chances, and they were up by more than 20 points. They had UCLA, that is, their largest lead was at 35 points at one point, which would have been, if that held, the largest margin of victory in a title game, which is the ultimate clapback because UCLA has the largest loss on record in a Final Four with 34 points. So
if that's not a clapback, I don't know what
exactly.
is.
So it was rebounding from a statistical perspective. I think it was rebounding. But Alicia, you and I were up watching this game with Tarika. And another thing that we noticed is that I think there was some fatigue, perhaps physical, and likely even some emotional fatigue for the Gamecocks.
And how could you not? After what happened in the last game, what happened in the game, but then there's social media.
Right.
And then there's all kinds of people, coming at the individual players and saying things.
Right.
And just all of the news and everything that was surrounding it, that had to affect you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But on top of that, also, UCLA just dominated on both ends of the court, offensively and defensively. And then South Carolina couldn't make a basket for a while. I think at the end of the second, you looked at the score, you looked at the stats, and there was like one player. I think Tessa Johnson was the only one who had anything on that board. And so when you look at that, along with, everything that they were doing defensively, I just, how do you win that? You don't. All of those categories cannot be deficient.
Right.
And then you win the game.
Yeah, it was just not South Carolina's night.
Yeah.
You mentioned Tessa Johnson. She did everything that she could. But, I think also Raven did a great job defensively. We don't expect her necessarily to go off offensively. But I think she was doing what she could defensively, at least to support and help, because there's a lot of length on this UCLA team. I mean, you look at a player like Angela Dudelich. You look at a player like a friend of the podcast in Gianna Neepkins. And these are not what you consider back to the basket players, although I would say Angela more so. But they have so much length. And so they were really pesky for the backcourt for South Carolina that has a lot of quickness, but not a lot of height. And I do think that made things difficult for them to get downhill. They weren't really able to get steals in transition. It was more them trying to maybe hold up the ball, get a jump ball and things of that nature. So their offense was really disrupted. And that was unfortunate for South Carolina. But again, I think UCLA, you have to give them credit for sticking to their game plan. I've said a few times that I do think a lower scoring game benefits UCLA because they stay poised. They can, in a half court set, figure a few things out. I think you saw a few times Kiki Rice being able to slash to the basket and then pop out to a Neepkins or someone else. I think that it was just, as Lisa Leslie had been saying earlier in the weekend, UCLA, at the time we were talking about the semis, needed to have a perfect game to advance. They didn't have a great game. It was an anemic scoring game, as we've talked about in the semifinal, but it was enough. And they looked more like that UCLA team that put a beating on Iowa in the Big Ten championship. That was probably the best game that we saw from the Bruins in the tournament, and it came in the last game of the tournament.
Well, and one thing we've been saying all season, and your word is sandpaper, y'all have heard her say it before, is that they needed that toughness aspect. They needed that grit. They needed that to win a championship.
Yes.
And they showed all of that
in this
championship game.
They really did. I mean, Charlize with that block. What was it? In the
Man.
second quarter, I think it was. Kiki Rice then sticking up for her teammate.
Jaquez, she was all over the place,
first of all,
defensively and offensively.
Listen. When you have a team that has Lauren Betts, you know she's going to be in contention for most outstanding player.
Absolutely.
And I want to let y'all know something. There are only 2 players that have had a 20-plus point, 10-plus rebound, 5-plus assist, and 50% field goal game. And that is last year's most outstanding player, Sarah Strong, and Gabriela Jaquez.
Come on, Gabriela.
And listen, I'm sure we'll get into most outstanding player. We're going to talk more about Lauren Betts, but I just want to say, even Betts was a little surprised that Jaquez didn't get it. But you know what? No me importa. It didn't matter. Jaquez, I think I said this when we were up on the landing. She played with her heart out, open, exposed, and it was just the joy. We know that she's someone who wanted to be a UCLA Bruin. It runs in her family. It was a choice that she made, and she stuck with it. And now, as she's on her way out, gets to celebrate with her team. I mean, I got goosebumps just retelling that story. But what a phenomenal performance from Jaquez.
Yeah, absolutely. And now she has bragging rights over her brother because she can say, I got the chip and you didn't. You know, I don't know. That's just some fun, sibling rivalry.
Right.
That she can add to
it. That's her clap back. And then what do you say, bro? You can't say nothing to that.
You really can't.
She wins.
You really can't. She does, man. She got the trophy in her hand right now, probably in the back.
But in fairness, because I'm an older sibling, so I want to be fair to the older siblings. He did pave the way, gave her something. See it, you can be it, and it was also seeing her brother in a Final Four that inspired her as well. So, I mean, obviously women's and men's basketball different, but there is that literally sisterhood, brotherhood, or sibling connection that the Jaquez family has. And what a delight. So just amazing. I mean, but I had to make sure we talked about Gabriela Jaquez because amazing performance.
Oh, I mean, through and through, amazing performance in the entire tournament, really. I mean, there was a couple of games where she wasn't there like offensively all the way, but definitely was there defensively. So fantastic on all levels. Now, this is really special for UCLA on many levels. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is that Sienna and Lauren got a championship together. Lauren stayed here to play with her sister.
Right.
And now they are taking home a trophy together, and they will always have that memory, always have that championship for the rest of their life. What stands out to you making it special for UCLA?
Oh man, well, I think again, the sibling thing, sister, we love seeing it. And you could tell that Lauren, I don't even think she fully she said, I don't even have words to describe what that's like. She was asked about it. I think also for Lauren in particular, she's been so open about how she's focused on her mental health and well-being, about the support that she got here at UCLA and why it was a place that after her freshman year elsewhere, she wanted to be, and that there was a patience and, a care that was given to her when she needed those moments. And she wasn't just the star of UCLA basketball. She was Lauren Betts first and foremost. And I think that goes again to Corey Close. I love that saying, sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. But Corey Close, I want to talk about Coach Close. She has been here. She's had longevity. I talked about this on CBS Sports HQ. That doesn't always happen. That doesn't always happen for women
at all.
And she had the trust and belief of the program, and she stuck to her guns. I've multiple times asked her, are you worried in the NIL era? Are you worried in the transfer portal era of sticking with such conviction to I'm growing people first, athletes second? And she said, you know what, Erica, paraphrasing, but the people who need to be here, who want to be here, who are going to believe in that, they will be here. Yeah. And we are going to do this foundationally the right way the first time, so that we build up. And they got to their first Final Four in the NCAA era. Shout out to Annie Meyer's 1978 team always. But to know that a coach that I'm sure I'm not the only one that asked that, and maybe at times she was feeling pressure from elsewhere, she was unflappable and stuck to her guns, stuck to her faith. She also leads with her faith. It is Sunday after all. And I think that to me when it's all said and done, and when people pull back and think about this UCLA team, or even after that documentary, knowing that about their story, I think that makes this very, very special.
It does. And you talked about, cultivating people, cultivating team. And Lauren Betts said it best up on that stage. She said that basketball has given me for herself, she said basketball has given me the platform to change people's lives. So she was talking about her mental health.
Right.
But then she also said that she does this for her teammates. I don't do it for me. Mm-hmm. And you can see that with the entire team, their chemistry that they have, and also the fact that, they did have one goal in mind. They stuck to it, and they won this championship. And they did it in a fashion of really enjoying each other's company and wanting to do it for each other.
Right, absolutely. And you know what? I'm speaking to the chat now. We can't see in the particular moment in the chat, but hey, y'all, how y'all doing? Thank you for joining. But don't think I forgot. A couple of shows ago now. A couple of shows ago now, somebody hopped up in the chat and act like I was Bobo the Clown.
Y'all remember?
For thinking UCLA could make a run. What you gonna say now? Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have the graphics? Are they behind us? Can y'all see? Can y'all see what it says? I'm gonna read it. 2026 NCAA National Champions. Ooh. UCLA.
Okay then.
Bow wow.
So yeah, I think Erica. What else can I say about that? That was Erica summed it up. She summed it up. But for anybody who had any questions, now you have answers. So that is for sure.
I have to get my personal lick back.
Yes,
I know ball. Thank you. I know ball.
She absolutely does. We do. Period. Well, listen. UCLA, y'all did your big one with this. Congratulations on every level. But we do have to talk about South Carolina a little bit. One begs the question, where do they go from here? I mean, it's been 2 back-to-back championships where they've lost and in this fashion as well with this margin of points. So where does South Carolina go from here?
It's natural to compare, but for me, these seemed like very different losses. I don't want to speak for South Carolina, and I'm sure we'll hear what they talked about post-game and talk about it on the next show. I just, from being in the building, it did feel like there was just a lot of energy expended on that win over UConn, and they needed every morsel of that energy to get through UConn, because shout out to the Huskies. They had a phenomenal season as well. Let's not let that get overshadowed with, again, some of the shenanigans. I think the fatigue factor, that was a physical game, and UCLA hitting their scout very hard early in the game, and you could start to see South Carolina, the belief dwindling. And I should say that's what it appeared to me. I don't like speaking for athletes on behalf of effort, things like that. But I do think that, again, there was a drain of fatigue. So where do they go from here? You've got a player like Lotson that you want to try and keep. You do have, a player like Raven Johnson that we know is moving on. But you also have, I believe, Joyce Edwards, right, is still junior. You have, I thought, who was it? A guy had a phenomenal semifinal game.
Yes.
And even at times in today's game this afternoon was someone who you're like, okay, this is a freshman. She's got good height, and also it feels comfortable shooting from the perimeter. She definitely has the modern game down. So I think if Dawn Staley can encourage her team, and she is a master at that, so it's not really an if for me, she will encourage this team. Sometimes you get beat. I think the next step for some of those younger players is to, okay, we had a very unexpected thing enter our orbit. That's not going to happen more often than not.
Yeah.
And how do you learn to be prepared as possible for anything and to keep it insular? For me, I think that was what troubled South Carolina, because statistically speaking, they should have been able to not only hang with a UCLA team with what they average, but they actually had better averages, Alicia. And that is because Dawn Staley worked on bringing in more offense for this team. So for me, it was more of the mental side that this team, I think that's where they faltered.
And we also have to remember that they lost Chloe Kitts like right at the
Yes.
beginning of the season, and she's so integral to. She's an integral part of the team, obviously. Guys,
Yep.
what she does for the team. Also, the chemistry is totally off when you have a player like that isn't on the team, and so you have to look at her coming back at some point.
Yep.
She's going to be there. And they also tried with Turnaby's to bring in the size.
Yep.
And to Turnaby's credit, she came in at a, kind of like halfway through, right?
Yeah.
Which is also a very hard thing to do. And she made some impact, but I think, when you look at that kind of adversity happening at the beginning of the year, it's actually really amazing that they are here in this championship game, even though they did lose in the fashion that they lost. In a lot of ways, they weren't really supposed to be here in the first place.
Yeah.
If you look at kind of the things that they've had to go through in the season and retooling mid-season to, get to the point where they're at today. So
yeah.
I think where they go from here is they have some great recruits coming in.
Right.
They have some amazing players on the team. They need some more size. Chloe Kitts will be back. There's a lot of things that they'll do. And if we know in the coaching staff that she has, they're going to make it happen.
Yeah, 100%.
They're going to remix it and make it happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so UCLA did their big one. We were here for it, obviously. We're here doing this pod. We've been through a long March Madness season. And I just want to know, when it comes to women's college basketball this season, what was your favorite part of, everything that we watched?
Wow, that's really tough.
It's hard.
Again,
it was such a great season.
So many great moments. In addition to UCLA, I was also talking about Michigan a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great run also by Vanderbilt. And then if we're talking just the tournament, I mean, who? The Who's, that's who we were talking about, right?
Cinderella's.
The first four to make it into, was the Sweet 16, right?
Yep.
And so I think that there is a lot of promise still in women's basketball. I think there are some teams that are still young, and particularly teams that are hungry. We know, we want to talk about handshake lines. We know that Gino and Hannah met at half court.
Yes.
And when Gino was asking some questions about what her future entailed, she said, I'm coming back because I want to win against y'all. Yes. So,
she wants to see him again.
Yes, that's it. And so I think that, there is a lot that a lot of the teams that we were talking about throughout the year. I'm curious to see the chess match that happens in the off season and leading into the start of next year, because the coaching continues to level up, the player IQ continues to level up, and it's not just enough to have the best recruiting class. It's not just enough to have iconic coaches, some that are already in the Hall of Fame and will assuredly be in as coaches once it's all said and done. You have to have the right combination at the right time, and you gotta show up. Okay, you have to show up. UCLA again played their best game in the last game of the season. People doubted them. There were times where even on the podcast we had to have conversations. Is the low scoring game even in the first round a concern? Did they earn a number one spot? Should they have been the number one overall? Well, I guess we got the answer now.
We did.
Hello. And so all of these things that those are the UCLA storylines, but I guess in summary and toto, what I'm trying to say is that it could be anyone next year, because we have not had a repeat champion in quite some time.
Well, and a lot of the teams that we saw, the Michigan team being one, they had people purposefully stay so that they can come and dominate and advance every single season and get to that championship. And there's a lot of teams that are doing that.
Right.
People talk about the transfer portal a lot, and I get it, because it is a huge thing and it happens a lot.
Right.
We've seen already, like Iowa State, most of the players are gone, but there are a lot. But there are a lot of teams that have that core, that continue to build off of that core, and they're going to be one of these top 4 seeds. We're going to see a lot more of these type of teams in this tournament in the next season, and especially in the next season because of that. So the culture, the teamwork, the coaches that are coaching for people rather than kind of like the NIL kind of way. We're going to be seeing more of that. And so I'm excited because that parity that people are talking about is increasing every year. And we're just going to have some amazing basketball. But Erica, I just want to say, for me, this was really, really special because I was with you every single pod.
I'll slide that money over later.
Listen, having you as the co-host, we've had an amazing pod from the beginning. But it's been like a joy to sit next to you every single pod, talking about women's sports and obviously women's college basketball. So, I mean, let's celebrate. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Hey, come on,
let's go. Yes, that's right. We deserve our confetti shower as well.
Yeah, shout out to Jack and Emma for the confetti.
And we had such amazing producers and the crew here with us. So, we even had a glam squad earlier. So, shout out to Lisa and Renee. For Renee's sake, I'm so glad that the UConn men did a little something. Yes. Because I was a little worried about her.
Yeah, we checked up on her.
Okay.
She's all right.
All right.
But definitely, sitting here with you has been great, but also being with all of you has been great this entire March Madness. We've been having some comments, some clapbacks. We've been having a lot of different moments that have been fun, funny, and we're just great and thankful that all of you are here with us each and every night and each and every pod right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.